Hello, I'm Manisha Lat Gupta from Ananda Permaculture Farm, and we are back today with a new series for you. This series of videos is dedicated to helping you start your own permaculture project and to answer some of the frequently asked questions on how to get started. Our aim at Ananda is not to grow food and sell it to you, but to make you grow your own food and lead a permaculture life. So today I'm going to answer a few frequently asked questions around land use, land purchase, what kind of land to buy, how to buy it, etc., which is a question we get asked very often. So let's get started with some of the questions that you sent in through the social media handles for me to answer. So most people in India are scared of buying land because there is a lot of legality, frauds, cheating that often happens with buying agricultural land. So some of the things that you should definitely keep in mind is, one, to check the title of the land that you're acquiring, and even if it means to hire a small-time lawyer to do the back check on the registries and the chain of registries around that land, do spend that money and make that happen, because it will ensure that the land that you get is from a bona fide seller and that you have genuinely purchased what you've paid money for. The second thing I would say you should keep in mind is to ensure that the land that you've purchased has been fenced up and the boundaries marked out before you make the final payment for it. This will ensure that after purchase you don't run into trouble with your neighbors who claim that this land belongs to them and not to you. So make sure the seller is marking out the land, putting at least the corner poles, and then giving you possession of the land. That, I think, is extremely important. And the third thing that you should be careful about is to make sure that you check the prices and get enough benchmarks and comparisons from prices within the area so that you do not end up overpaying for the land that you get. So these are the three things you should keep in mind when you set up to buy land. One, make sure the title is correct. Two, make sure that the land is handed over to you in a fenced up condition. And third, do enough research to make sure that you're paying the right price for it. So to start a permaculture project, you can either lease land or you can buy it. Leasing land in India is relatively cheap, buying land is relatively expensive, but the disadvantage perhaps of leasing land is that your landlord may not allow you to make many permanent changes in the land. So for example, if you want to build a pond, if you want to plant a lot of trees, if you want to actually change the topography of the land, you may not get permission from the person who is leasing this land to you to do the same. However, if you purchase land, it tends to be more expensive, but you know then that the work that you're doing is going to be permanent, long lasting. You can work with the land to change it in whichever form is required to maximize your water harvesting or to maximize your tree plantation and productivity. So those are really the two pros and cons of leasing land. One is cheap but temporary, the other is more expensive but permanent. So when we set out to buy land, usually we are obsessed with the soil quality, the water level, how many trees are there, whether the sun is enough or not, etc. But to my mind, almost all those factors are things that you can work with. You can work to improve your soil quality. You can work to secure more water for your land. You can plant in a way to maximize the solar gain. But the main thing that we should be worried about when we are buying land is actually the human activity around you. So I often say that everything in nature is good. The only thing we have to be worried about is man and humans, who tend to be the most dangerous when it comes to building a project like this. So make sure that you're scouting around to see what is the development plan for that area. Is there like a poultry farm that's going to come up near you? Is there going to be some illegal mining there? Is this land going to come under the city jurisdiction and have apartment blocks built up around you? Is there an industrial zone which is going to happen somewhere in your vicinity which you may not like? Those are the things that you should really look out for everything else, to my mind, is manageable. So if everything else is good with the land and you finally come down to talking about the natural factors that you have to consider, there are a few things that you should look at. One, you should look at the water level and the rainfall in your area. The water level you can easily find out by asking your neighboring farmers at what depth is their tube well or bore well currently operating at. That will give you an idea about the depth of the water table. The second thing is the rainfall in your area. You should have a sense of how much rain that area gets, and this is information you can find online extremely easily by putting in your GPS coordinates. The third thing you should look for is the quality of the soil, and you can do that by simply doing a soil test, but even a walk around and a cursory look by the naked eye will tell you whether your soil is sandy, clayey, does it have any organic matter, or is it devoid of any life. If you obviously have organic matter and life within your soil, it's a great positive. But I would say even if you do not have that, it is not a big cause of concern, because you can work with it to improve your soil quality within 5 years or so. So I wouldn't give that much emphasis to soil quality. I would definitely give importance to water and the presence of a nearby water body, enough rainfall, a seasonal river flowing through your land or nearby. These are all great bonuses to have, because water is really key for all forms of life, and that includes plants and animals as well. So lastly, you could look at the topography of your land. Is it flat? Does it have any slopes? These are important things, because if you have slopes, water will tend to flow, you will be able to harness it much better. If it is flat, you may end up having some water logging, but that's again something that you can deal with by building some swales and some channels around your land. Lastly, solar gain, solar factor. In India at least, we are blessed. We have a lot of sun. So I wouldn't say that's a big cause of concern. However, you would want to see the movement of the sun. Where does it rise? Where does it set? And are there any long shadows being cast on your land by a neighboring forest or neighboring tree cover? That might be something that could be a little bit obtrusive, but otherwise, sun is pretty much good for us all over the country. So when we bought Ananda, actually the soil quality was very poor. It was not even soil, it was simply dirt. But we didn't know any better. So, we just took what we got. And it actually looked like a fairly drought-struck place, with the groundwater level being at about 300 feet. No surface ponds really. We used to have a small pond which also dried up subsequently. But to our surprise, 6 months later, when we actually showed up here during the monsoon, we saw a seasonal river running through our farm. So we thought that we were drought prone, but we had flash floods at the same time. So it was a very unique situation which alternated between flash floods and drought. And our challenge really was on how do we manage the water to build a much more long-term, water content in our ground. So what we liked about Ananda was the slopes. We liked the fact that it was amongst the last pieces of land before the forest started. We thought that was an advantage. We liked the fact that it was not very far from the city, so we could access it, because we had to travel from Mumbai at that point in time. And we liked the fact that it had that pond adjacent to it, which unfortunately dried up later. But these were some of the factors that we considered, and also the fact that we got about 6 acres of land together, which is often difficult to get as one packet. So thanks for watching the first video in this series. If you liked our video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is our aim to help you start a permaculture journey of your own, and we will be answering some more questions in part 2. So stay tuned.